Hello, it's Davey Mooney coming to you from the University of North Texas, where I run the jazz guitar program. I'm a Benedetto artist, Sunnyside Records artist. Got my 4 Sunnyside CDs up here, and the new one, Way Back, is coming out June 9th. Stay tuned for gigs and stuff like that. And I got my 2 Mel Bay books, Personalizing Jazz Vocabulary, Into the Labyrinth. Got an idea for a new one. It's percolating in my head right now, in my brain. Let's see, it's late April, mid to late April here, getting towards the end of the spring 2023 semester. Getting ready for some travel this summer, and just getting through it all. And but today I want to talk to you about something else. I want to talk to you about the Jerome Kern song, I'm Old Fashioned, Jerome Kern with Johnny Mercer lyrics. And really great jazz standard, always Jerome Kern is such a big part of the standard repertoire. And he was such a harmonic trickster, devious little harmonic puzzles and tricks that he put into his tunes, like All the Things You Are, Long Ago and Far Away, Nobody Else But Me, Yesterdays, so many songs that he wrote. This one, I was just looking it up, I believe it was written for a film called You Were Never Lovelier with Rita Hayworth and Fred Astaire. I think that's 1942. The versions that I know the best of this song, it's one of those tunes that's been recorded by everybody, all the vocalists, many of the instrumentalists, but there's a handful of recordings that I know pretty well. The Ella Fitzgerald Jerome Kern songbook, which I love because I love Ella Fitzgerald, and it's what's his name? Nelson Riddle arrangements, which I always love listening to for the harmonies and the textures. The orchestrations are always so great. Keith Jarrett live at the Blue Note, man, one of the greatest collections of piano trio playing. I don't know, pretty much anything Keith Jarrett does is in my top echelon of jazz recordings. The Blue Note recordings, like from 1994, I believe, and when I was an undergrad here, everybody was listening to that stuff. Sort of the golden era of the standards trio in the 90s there. I mean, they were always great, but there was just a series of records in the 90s, Standards in Norway, Standards in Tokyo in 96, and the Blue Note was like a 4 CD set, but they played this tune. Chet Baker, from Chet Baker Sings It Could Happen to You. Chet Baker also sings I'm Old Fashioned on that album. And of course, it's the ballad on Blue Train, John Coltrane record. So that's some heavy hitters right there in the jazz pantheon. And I guess what I'm going to talk about, I love playing on this song, but as with pretty much every tune that I talk about, especially with the standards, sort of American songbook standards, there's significant variation in certain spots with the harmonies on this thing. And there's also a chart. I don't believe it was in the original, illegal real book that we all bought under the counter or out of the trunk of someone's car back in the day. But it's in the legal real book called the New Real Book, Volume 1. When I was an undergrad here, that was part of my sort of sight reading practice and working out chord melodies. I would just read through standards from that book. I thought the changes were pretty legit. I think they got the copyright down at the bottom, so they got them from somewhere. So that chart is pretty good, but then you compare it to Ella, Keith, Chet, and Train. It's closest to what Keith played, but I don't think that he got it from that book. I don't think that book was even out then, and I don't know how he goes through. Rick Beato didn't ask him how he gets the changes to his tunes for the standards trio. But basically, it's a really cool tune because it's just a series of, it's actually the same length as All the Things You Are. I went through and counted the bars this time, so I'm ready. Sometimes I do these videos and I know the song, but I don't actually think mathematically how many bars it is. But it's 36 bars, but it's not really AABA with a tag. It kind of is. It's kind of like an 8-bar section, another second 8-bar section, a third 8-bar section, a fourth 8-bar section with a little tag at the end. And they're all slightly different. And he's kind of a trickster. It reminds me of several of his tunes. There's a little bit of Long Ago and Far Away in here, but basically it's like the key, I'm going to do it in F because that's what Keith Jarrett does, but Ella is in D flat, Chet is in A flat, Train is in E flat. So, and I'm sure I could listen to like at least a dozen more versions and find variations in the key. But I think on gigs I've played it a lot in F with people. So it starts off like just 1, 6, 2, 5 in F. The first 4 bars are just 1, 6, 2, 5 twice, and then a kind of like B flat over F. I love the then F, then a E minor 7 flat 5 to A7. And pretty much all the versions agree with that. That's the first 8 bars, and then D minor, G7. That's 4 bars, and then G minor story song that April sings. And this part, like the second 4 bars of the second 8-bar phrase, so bars like what is that, 13 to 16. There's slight variations. Like the chart actually says G minor, A flat diminished, G minor, C7. I found on the Nelson Riddle record, what they do is a G minor. It's like G minor for a bar into a G7 for a bar to C7 for 2 bars, or a dominant thing. So kind of like a secondary dominant 5 of 5. I didn't really hear that diminished. I feel like Keith plays it for like a second. He plays a little A flat diminished. He kind of just sneaks it in there. But, depending on the tempo, you kind of don't need to really put anything. It can just be sort of G minor for, 3 bars before the C7. On Keith's version, when they solo, they tend to go like G minor, A flat minor, D flat, G minor, C7, F, just to give them a little more, stuff to play over. Since that's a long 4 bars, if you just play G minor to C7. But they don't even really do that every chorus, and they're so spontaneous and inspired and brilliant, they can play whatever changes they want. But when I play on the tune later, I'm going to use that little A flat minor, D flat 7 in the, bar 15 or whatever it is. And the next, you think the next 8-bar phrase is going to be like the first one, because it sort of starts the same. It's like this, although the melody is different. So he tricks you. He goes, this is one of his, like every song has one trick in it, I feel like, at least, of Jerome Kern. What he I think he liked to call enharmonic modulation. I don't know if that's what's going on here, but so basically that third 8 bars is F, D minor, G minor, C, F, D minor, and then B minor, E7, A major, and then he goes like, he walks up the diatonic 7 chords or triads of in the key of A, like A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, and some people play D7. Keith kind of sneaks a D7 in there on the head, but other versions it's like a D major or a D6. D major 7 or D6, like, the 4 chord in A would be, then E7, then F sharp diminished to get you back to G minor, C7, F. So that's kind of sneaky. So that's what Jerome Kern, on the bridge of All the Things You Are, he likes to trick your ear and trick you into different keys. So that C that you think is, the note E, which you think is like the third of C7 getting you back to F, becomes like the 11 of B minor, the root of E7, and then you're in A. So it's a little trick. Pretty wild. So it's like A, it's almost like a little scale pattern of the melody. A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E7. And then there's a trick. So the note A, which in the key of A, of course, is the root of A, he puts an F sharp diminished there. So it's like a D7 going back to G minor to 5 to F. So. You think it wants to be? Just stay in A with that F sharp, which in the key of A would be an F sharp minor, right? He makes it an F sharp diminished, which takes you to G minor. So he's playing these little half-steppy and harmonic tricks. But it's fun to play over that part, and I think like when people improvise over it, it's kind of just like you stay in the key of A, and then D7, G minor, C7. That's how I think about it. I don't necessarily try to hit all those chords. It sounds a little, I don't know, a little awkward if you try to improvise on all of them. Then the next, so now that's the third 8 bars. This is the fourth 8 bars. So it's almost, you feel like that's sort of the bridge, but all the phrases, well, not all the 8 bar phrases are unique. So I don't know how you want to think about it. It's kind of just A, B, A, C to me. So then the last 8 bar phrase, it's actually a 12 bar phrase because it has a little tag. It starts like the first one. 1, 6, 2, 5. 9, 6, 2, 5. And then here's where there's some variation on different versions. So Keith Jarrett goes 2, 5 to the 4, and then 4 minor or E flat 7. So C minor, F7, B flat major, E flat 7, and then A minor, D minor, B minor, 7 flat 5, B flat minor, and then 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. There's a little tag. So I want to be as long as you agree to stay affection with me. But then I was listening to the Ella version, and she's in D flat, but they go instead of the so the first 4 bars of that phrase are always F, and always 1, 6, 2, 5 twice, right? I made some notes here. I'm trying to look at. So then Ella Fitzgerald, they just go how I want to be. So they go A minor, D minor. They don't do a 2, 5 to B flat. Just go A minor, D minor, B minor, 7 flat 5, B flat minor 6, A minor, D minor, G7, and then 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. So instead of that whole 2, 5 to 4, they don't do that at all. Chet goes how I want to G7, B flat minor, E flat, A minor, D minor, G7, B flat minor, E flat. He does that twice, that same phrase. How I want to be as long as you agree. It's a ballad, so it goes a lot slower than that. And then the train one is interesting because he's in let's see, I have to do it in the right key. I have it in E flat here where I wrote it down, so I'm going to have a little brain cramp. But so he goes right to the, he starts on A minor again, but he goes like, this little A minor, B flat major. I mean, he's in another key, but if we're in the key of F, he goes A minor, B flat major, A minor, D minor, B flat major, E flat 7, and then the same thing again. And then the G7, B flat minor, E flat 7. I mean, in his key, that's such an iconic recording, I guess I should say, in his key. So G minor, A flat, G minor, C minor, A flat major, D flat 7. And then the 3, 6, 2, 5. So yeah, that's the variations right there, right? I feel like these days most people, I mean, I don't play this with that many people. It's usually my gig when I'm calling it. But I use those Keith Jarrett changes just because, I don't know, I feel like it's more fun to play over those. And I'm going to play on the tune, I guess in terms of like what to play on this song. I mean, it's a lot of like 2 5s and pretty standard harmony along the lines of the other tunes from the Great American Songbook. It's not that unusual except those modulations that you have to be aware of, obviously. And one thing about this tune and also Long Ago and Far Away, which also has those, it's almost like endless feeling 1-6-2-5 cycles, and then all of a sudden you're in a different key. I try not to always feel like I have to play on every chord. Sometimes I'll just play some melodies in F. You know what I mean? Or when I'm in A, you know, like that third 4-bar phrase, or 8-bar phrase where he goes. So I make sure I hit the F sharp diminished, getting me back to G minor, but over that A walk up, I don't go. Try to play all those ascending chords, and I feel like that I have a more successful and a more pleasurable improv experience when I don't try to hit every chord. It's almost like those A sections and rhythm changes where I kind of generalize over B flat for the first 4 bars when you have like 1-6-2-5, 1-6-2-5 over and over again. And yeah, it's just a beautiful tune. It's just interesting enough where you think you know what's going to happen, and then there's a little curveball that he throws at you. But anyway, I'm going to play some, improvise some choruses on this tune, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I'm old-fashioned.